Like every other Metroidvania fan, I was watching III Initiative in hopes for some information on Hollow Knight Silksong. Spoiler alert, we got none. So instead of waiting, I took to Steam to find its replacement, where I just so happened to stumble across a game called Ender Magnolia. With the thought that I'm never going to be able to play Silksong in my mind, I decided this was the next best thing. So I got out my wallet, slammed some money down, and bought Ender Lilies. You thought I was going to say Ender Magnolia, didn't you? What type of psycho starts playing a series on the second game? Come on now, use your head. Ender Lilies was developed by two different companies, AdGlobe and Livewire, and published by Binary Haze Interactive. Now, if you've never heard of any of these studios before, don't feel too bad. Nobody else has either. All three are incredibly small Japanese studios based out of Tokyo. Funnily enough, as I was doing my research, I learned that AdGlobe doesn't even promote themselves as a game studio, but rather as just another run-of-the-mill technology company. If I'm being completely honest, I felt really weird scrolling through their website, and the first few times I even pulled up their website, I thought it was a completely different company. But no, it turned out to be them. I mean, look at this. What part of this screams I make video games? Even the games part of the website just shows a bunch of random mobile games that they supposedly helped on, but I digress. AdGlobe has also only developed 3 games, 2 Ender titles, and another game I've never heard of called Redemption Reapers. On top of this really weird information that I found out, I'm also fairly certain that they either own or are completely affiliated with Binary Haze Interactive, as the only games that they've published just so happen to be the same 3 games that AdGlobe developed, so, you know.
That's suspicious.
On top of that, I was trying to look into Livewire, but their website's in Japanese, and for some reason my computer wouldn't translate it, so I was forced to try the next best thing I could think of.
Livewire Incorporated.
Essentially, what the information boiled down to is that Livewire has only developed a few other games, all of which saw very little success, and targeted most of them towards the Nintendo Switch instead of the superior consoles. Now, if the fact that somehow these 3 seemingly dysfunctional studios managed to throw together a gem like Ender Lilies didn't intrigue you, then first off, what's wrong with you? No, honestly, you're a genuine weirdo. And secondly, the game is crazy good, from small things like music all the way to the major things like gameplay. Speaking on the gameplay, in all honesty, the first time I opened the game, it kinda threw me for a loop. Rolling in, I expected to play as the knight that appears on the cover and have to travel the kingdom and save the princess. Vaguely similar to a very popular Nintendo title. However, you actually play as the little girl that's shown, Lily. And for any of you laughing at me talking about
maybe if you actually read the title, you'd have known you're playing as Lily.
Go ahead and Google Zelda for me, buddy, and tell me what the main character's name is. Anyways, this unexpected twist in perspective adds a new layer of depth to what would be a normal Metroidvania style game. You don't get to play as the knight in shining armor, but rather the small, frail girl that simply can't protect herself. And ironically so, Lily not being able to protect herself is kind of what sets the game apart from any other game I've ever played. Instead of wielding something boring like a sword and shield, you summon the spirits of fallen warriors to fight for you. As you play through the game, you fight different bosses like most other Metroidvania style games, but where Ender Lilies differs from the norm is that once you beat a boss, you actually purify them from their eternal suffering and create a binding, thus allowing you to use them in battle. Of course, there's your typical knights and warriors that you expect to see in a game like this. However, there are also a few different bosses. The main one that comes to mind is this weird looking dog. For some reason, he just lets you kill him. When I first did the boss fight, it was definitely interesting, but I shot him, gave him a stim pack, and moved on with my day. What takes this concept to a new level is the amount of planning and strategy that you have to put in while playing the game. With every boss you bind comes a new attack that you can add to your arsenal. However, you're only given 3 slots to work with. With a limitation of only 3 slots, you have to find a happy medium between survivability and resource management with your builds. Oh, wait, did I forget to mention that your attacks don't have unlimited uses? Outside of a few melee attacks, most of the attacks you unlock have a limited number of uses. This provides another challenge that you have to consider when making a build to begin with. So for all you diehard spammers out there, good luck, buddy. I can tell you from experience that running out of attacks is a literal death sentence. I found this form of content to be incredibly unique and fun. Every time I died, rather than just bashing my head against my desk over and over, I was actually able to review my game plan and see if I could make a better build for the area I was in. Don't get me wrong, I died over and over and over and over again. But I never thought I was in an area that I simply couldn't beat. It was just a matter of trial and error until I found the right combination of attacks that would get me through the battle, and in a game like Ender Lilies, this is an incredibly hard feat for developers to accomplish. On top of the combat, another thing that made me love Ender Lilies is the atmosphere and art style the game provides. From the moment you load into the game, you're immediately drawn into a world that feels both haunting and captivating. The hand-drawn art that's used creates an absolutely stunning backdrop for your adventure through the game. From the overgrown ruins of the Forgotten Kingdom down to the eerie depths of a dark forest, It's meticulously crafted to awaken a sense of wonder and mystery. I mean, I'm what they call artistically challenged, so the fact that they hand you most of, if not all, the background of the game is just mind-blowing. As you're exploring the fallen kingdom of Land's Edge, it's backed by serene piano instrumentals that provide a feel of wonder as you never know what's coming next. As you dive deeper and deeper into the game, both the artwork and music evolve to show how the kingdom has gotten darker and fallen into ruin over the years. These details do an impeccable job of backing up what is a masterpiece of a story. Quick disclaimer, for the video's sake, I'm going to be sticking to just the story of Lily and the White Priestess before her. If I went into exhaustive detail about the entire story, it would take me probably another hour or two to cover everything, but I do highly recommend looking into the entire lore as it's absolutely fire. Throughout the game, you follow the story of the last remaining White Priestess, Lily. For those of you asking what a White Priestess is the title given to someone who is immune to the Blight and has the ability to purify it. As you play through the game, you find notes around the map detailing how the land became overrun with Blight to begin with. The most important of these notes being the one about the White Priestess before Lily, known by the name of Freysia. There's a very high likelihood that I butchered that name, so just bear with me. Freysia was used many times throughout the invasions as she had the ability to purify the Blight, the main enemy in the game, which allowed the kingdom to fight back. However, it wasn't enough. As time went on, the Blight began to slowly take over the entire kingdom. This forced the kingdom to look for another way to fight the Blight, which led to a sorcerer by the name of Phaedon to discover two major things. He discovered a way to make people immortal through what became known as the Deathless Elixir, and he figured out a way to clone the White Priestess. With these two things, it allowed the warriors to keep fighting the Blight without fear of death, and it allowed for more White Priestesses to be born in order to purify the Blight. And with these two new developments, the kingdom was finally able to repel the Blight invasion. However, later they realized that the Blight was still going to slowly take over the kingdom, as purifying it was taking a major toll on all the White Priestesses. This leads to Freysia making the decision to go out and fight the Blight Lord. As you can guess, she loses miserably.
Get back in the kitchen!
After her loss, she then either becomes the new Blight Lord or morphs with the current one. We don't actually know what happens, the story doesn't really explain it. But this then leads us to what we see in the game today. Lily is essentially tasked with trying to fix the mistakes of those that have come before her. This is backed by not just one, but all three of the endings in the game. In the first ending, Lily finds Freysia and purifies her. This leads to Freysia telling Lily that she's going to take on the burden of purifying the Blight from the land, as it's not Lily's battle to fight. She even goes so far to tell Lily to flee and live the life as she wishes. In the second ending, roughly the same scenario happens, but this time Lily decides to stay and purify the Blight with Freysia rather than just leaving it for her to deal with. It's important to note that we have no idea if either of these endings actually ended up working. They both could have failed miserably. We'll never know. And the third ending actually has Lily fight Freysia as she's become the new Blight Lord. After Lily defeats her, she decides to take on the burden of purifying the Blight by herself so that she can free Freysia from all her suffering. Now, we don't actually know what this ending means for Freysia, as we don't know if she became herself again and was actually able to move around and live a life, or if she just simply passed away. It's more than likely the latter, but you never know. All in all, Ender Lilies is more than just a game. It's an experience that lingers in the mind long after the final credits roll. With its masterful blend of gameplay, atmosphere, and narrative depth, it stands as a shining example of creativity and innovation in not just Metroidvania games, but the gaming industry as a whole. Whether you're a Metroidvania fan or simply just appreciate a well-crafted story, Ender Lilies is a journey well worth taking. Anyways guys, as always, if you liked the video, go ahead and drop a sub. My plan right now is to keep working on videos to hopefully get at least one video a week out for all of you to enjoy, but any support is incredibly appreciated, and I'll see you guys in the next one.